Hi everyone, Sandy Trefker here. Welcome to my YouTube channel and to my Valentine album design team project for Country Craft Creations using Echo Park's / Cartabella's Cupid and Company paper collection. This is a really fun paper collection and project. It will fit inside of the Valentine box that I made earlier, and I have a tutorial for that as well as this. There will be a tutorial here on this video immediately after the walkthrough of the album, which will be set to music. I'm not going to explain a lot about it because I do that at the end of the video with the tutorial. I did add in some things extra that did not come in my design team package, such as the doilies, the flatback red pearls, these wood blocks, Scrabble piece box that says "Be Mine" with the hearts on them, and the felt hearts. So that was added in, and I did use some string, button string twine in the red inside the album as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the music, and then we'll just take a quick look at this in the walkthrough, and then the tutorial will follow immediately. Thanks. For the Valentine album that I'm going to create to put inside this Valentine box, I'm using the rest of the pattern paper that I received in my design team package from Country Craft Creations. So you see here I used the Valentine, or the love words, Valentine words pattern here on the box, and I used these flowers and the hearts and these Valentine trucks. So that's what I used on there. So I have quite a bit left over, which I started out with 2 sheets of each pattern in the collection of the Echo Park or Cartabella's Cupid and Company. So what I have to work with, I have 1 sheet, well actually I have more than that of this one. Let me see, I have 1 full sheet of this one, which is called the 4x6 journaling cards, and I have an 8" by 12 of the same. So I do have that, and then I have only 1 sheet of the love words that I used on the box, and then I used up all of the, I have it on my video, of the ones with the hearts and the flowers here, like that. So I used all those up. So I'll have 2 each of everything else in the collection. And then also I'm going to be using again the gray artisan cardstock, and I've already pre-cut mine, but I did use 3 sheets for the wrapping of the album cover, and you're going to need 1.5 sheets of the 12 by 12 heavy weight chipboard that I get from Country Craft Creations that I get in my kit. So these are already pre-cut. This is for the cover for the album. So these measurements will be in the description below. You'll have to click on show more to be able to see it all. You can scroll through it, highlight it, copy and then paste it to print it up. Or you can jot down the measurements as you're watching this video. So to make the cover, we need 2 out of chipboards, 5 1/4 inches by 8 1/2 inches. Then cardstock to wrap each of these pieces. You need 2 that are 7 1/4 by 10 1/2. That's for the cover. For the spines, we need 2 chipboards that are 3 inches by 8 1/2, 2 cardstock that is 6 inches by 10 1/2. And then we're going to have a little closure flap. So we need 1 chipboard that is 1 1/2 inches by 8 1/2 inches and 1 piece of the cardstock that's 3 by 10 1/2. So let's go ahead and get started on putting these together. So you're going to need your scoreboard, a bone folder for burnishing or whatever you like to use, and then you need your spacers. These are from Country Craft Creations. You can order a set of these from countrycraftcreations.com. They're made especially for Tamara's store there, and you can order this as a set while they're available. They do sell out occasionally, so you may have to check back. This one is 12 inches by 1 1/2 inches. That's for creating your spine, and these 2 are 1 inch by 12 inches. For the wrap method, this is a method designed by Tamara of Country Craft Creations, the owner of the store, on an easy way to wrap your album covers, and the cover lays flat. So this is her design, and I love to use it when I'm creating an album. If you don't have these spacers, don't worry about that. You can still use this method. Just cut you some scrap pieces of chipboard out of your chipboard leftovers and make the same size. So 2 12 inch by 1 and 1 12 inch by 1 1/2. So we're going to start with the covers first. So you put down your 7 1/4 by 10 1/2 inch piece of cardstock onto the scoreboard mat, and you're just going to use the 1 inch here. So I'm going to put 1 at the top and then 1 here on the left side. And then I like to use glue, so I am using the So I am using the Art Glitter Dry as Clear Designer Adhesive Wet Glue. I have it here with the cap on it. So I use that. You can use score tape or the score tape sheets if you want, whichever you prefer. You just want to be able to stick this down onto the cardstock to get it ready for wrapping. So I'm going to put up my glue here a little bit. I'm just going to put it all over a good amount onto the chipboard on one side. And then stick it down. Make sure you're butting up to the spacers at the top and on the left side. This will give you a 1 inch margin of cardstock on all 4 sides to wrap your cover. To turn it over and burnish it. And then we'll do the other one the same way. Put your paper down, your 1 inch spacers, and then the cardstock. The chipboard. We're going to put the chipboard down onto the cardstock. Place that down. Burnish with my hands. Pick it up, flip it over. Burnish with my flat side of my bone folder. I use a Teflon bone folder with a rounded end. I also have a short one that I use sometimes that I like also as well, like this. For your spine pieces, your 3 inch by 8 1/2 inch chipboard, you need to use a 1 inch spacer at the top, and then you need your 1 1/2 on the left side. And let me grab my pieces. I'm putting glue on them. or your score tape, whatever adhesive you want to use. So put your adhesive on it and then attach them down flush onto this, and then flip it over. So you have 1 inch at the top and the bottom and 1.5 on each side on your spine pieces. So those are done a little bit different. So then go ahead and do it on the other piece. Your 6 inch by 10.5. You got your 1 inch at the top and your 1.5 on the side. Let me grab it real quick. The chipboard piece. So you have 2 of these that are 3 by 8.5. So you're putting them down with adhesive onto the cardstock right there, and then burnish those. And then the last one is our little closure flap. So this is 1.5 inches by 8.5. You just have one, and then you have a piece of cardstock that is the 3 by 10.5, and we're going to use 1 inch on the top and the side. And let me add the glue here. Attach this down. So once we have them all attached to our cardstock like this, then we're going to wrap our cover sections. So I'm going to put up my spacers. I don't need these anymore. And put up my scoreboard for now. I like to have a little bit more room here on this table. So put these down out of the way. And let's start with the cover pieces, the 2 big pieces. And you're going to use your chipboard to just kind of stand up and fold your cardstock on all 4 sides. Do that on both of these pieces. This is your front and your back cover. Now then, Tamara shows cutting the spine of the corners out, and I'm looking for my scissors because I'm going to cut mine. I like to do mine at a miter angle. So I'm going to grab my big scissors. I don't know where my small scissors are. So where it intersects, I'm going to stay about 1/8 of an inch from the tip of the chipboard and just do an angle cut. This is a matter of preference. You can cut out the squares and then do them as Tamara does on hers, or you can do them at an angle like this, whichever you like for your covers. I just like the way it angles in the corner on a cover when I put my finishing paper on the inside. So that's that. Throw these away. Now then, I do the long sides first. I'm going to burnish this really good. Now you can use score tape here to attach these flaps down to wrap. I'm going to use glue. I like to put a line of glue in the fold along the chipboard on the cardstock, and then I just go ahead and put it on the flap and bring this over and burnish with your bone folder. Well, the glue usually comes out down there for some reason. Okay, I get too much down there. To the other side, I'm going to stay away from that end a little bit. Maybe not have as much glue there. Go ahead and fold this down. Burnish. Extra messy today, but that's going to be covered up. Now then, we're going to check this to see if it's folding correctly, and maybe needs a little bit trimmed off a little more right here to get that corner that I like. A little more here, not much. Got to be extra careful there. Okay, so now we put glue, same way, right along the fold, and then on the flap, bring it over and burnish. then the other side. Now then, I've got this one wrapped. This is one piece. You're going to do the other one the exact same way. I also kind of like to burnish the edges here somewhere. The glue is in the fold. So this is one cover, so you're going to go ahead and do the other one the exact same way, and I'm going to do this one real quick off camera. So we have the two covers wrapped, and now we're ready to do the two spines. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold up our cardstock by using the edge of the chipboard on all four sides, even though you have the 1.5 inch on the two sides. Just like that. So we have that. And then we'll do the other one the same way. Now for this one, I am going to just cut out the corners here, right along the fold line up to the point of the chipboard. Like that. Here. So you do that on all four corners of both pieces. Now we do not glue the two wings down that are on the side, the length of it. We're just going to glue the top edge. Go ahead and cut these corners out on your second piece also. Making covers this way is really pretty quick and easy, and it's going to lay flat, which makes it easier to add your patterned paper. So if you haven't done this, I encourage you to give it a try. You can also watch it on the Country Craft Creations YouTube channel to see how Tamara does it, and you know, follow along with her, and you can adapt it to any size album cover that you want or need. And like I did on the, oops, I forgot to check my edges here where I need to trim. Before you start gluing anything down, fold your edges over and just double check to see if you need to slightly miter anything. These look okay. So I think the one I glued down already is probably okay, but do that before you add any glue. So we got that one. That one looks fine. Okay, so then go ahead and glue down same way. Put glue in the fold line and then on the short flaps and fold those over. So what you're doing is you're just wrapping the ends of your spine sections like that. So we leave the wings. Do the same here. Let's double check our, see if we need to trim anything from the flaps so that nothing sticks out over the edge. It's pretty good. This one maybe needs a little more there. So you just check it all four directions. The ends of the long ones and the ends of the short ones. Go. Didn't really need much. Now then, we're going to go ahead and glue the short flaps on both ends. On the other side. Okay, once you have these attached in, get that extra glue off of that. Okay, turn them over and you're going to burnish right along the chipboard on the cardstock, on the front side, the finished side, to get this indentation here. This is where the fold's going to be of your cover. So you want it to look like that, where it's dented down. So do that on both pieces. And you want to make sure you're using the rounded part of a bone folder, not anything sharp. You don't want to tear it. This will help keep your cardstock from cracking. Now you can also turn it over and kind of do it on the inside to make these linen cardstock fibers fold easier. So I'm going to do this one too on the inside here, right along the chipboard, and then again on the outside. So you clearly see an indentation where you see the raised of the chipboard. So now then we're going to do this small one here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to cut these corners out right here. And then on the other side where it's more a little rectangle, we're going to cut those out. Right along the fold line. Last one. And then we're going to double check and make sure if we need to do any mitering. So I'm going to fold this one over right here. I'm going to look at this one. She seems to be okay. This other side, trim just a tiny bit. Here we're going to check. So just check them all just to be on the safe side. Anywhere you see some paper cardstock sticking out beyond the end of the chipboard, that needs trimmed off. And I'm going to check the other direction here. Just a little bit. Okay, looks good. So for this one, we're going to leave this wider piece here. We're going to glue this side down. Fold it over, burnish. You can also, again, use score tape if you want on that part. Sticking out just a little bit right there. I'm going to clip that off. Then we're going to wrap this top edge and the bottom, the short edges here. There. And here. And now we turn this over. We're going to do the same thing like we did on the spine. We're going to burnish right along the chipboard on the cardstock to get that indentation. Let's do both sides to kind of help it have a bend. And then we'll do the front side again last. Okay, so there is, with its indentation, is our chipboard pieces ready to assemble. So we're going to take a spine piece and we're going to take one of the covers and it's going to go right up against this on the finished side, and I'm going to put my glue about 1/8 of an inch from the fold line, and then on the wings. And then I'm going to take one of my covers, push the wrapped edge of the chipboard right up against the chipboard of this section here. Make sure it's even up here and up here. So burnish it, turn it over, and burnish that flap that we just put down. This one here is kind of sticking over a little bit. I don't like that, so I'm going to trim it off a little bit right there. So I guess I didn't check that one. If it's sticking out over your cover, then you'll need to trim it off some. So now we're going to put, so that's one spine there. I'm going to flip this back over. We're going to put the cover here on these wings, and the remaining wing about 1/8 of an inch the glue from the fold line. Put down our glue, and we're going to line it up so that the fold of this cover piece lines up, and you'll make sure that here at the bottom and the top they're lined up, and you want to push it all the way in to the chipboard of the spine. Flip it over and burnish. Okay, now we need to put one more spine on. So we have this way, that's our cover there. We'll need one more spine here on this side. Turn it over. Put that one just like that. So I have 1/8 of an inch from the edge, the fold of the wings here. This is your spine, there's your fold, but this one's going to fit down into that. Butt it up and make sure they line up good at the top, right here and right here. Okay, now then, here on this one I did make a mistake. We do need to wrap this part here over, so I am going to miter cut this just a tiny bit to make sure it doesn't show. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the glue in here. So this closure flap piece does need to be wrapped all the way around. So the finished part of this is going to go into this right here. And just make sure that it, since this is 1.5 and this is 1.5, that this doesn't stick out too far. So I put my my glue along the fold line, 1/8 of an inch from the fold, and then on the flap. And then we're going to butt this in right up against that chipboard. If you have any glue that comes through, go ahead and get that out of there. Make sure they line up here and here, flush with each other, right in this seam part, the two chipboard pieces. Burnish that, flip it over, and burnish. So now we have this one completely wrapped here, and you don't see that short piece. So then we're going to just fold this up, and we have our cover here like this, and we're going to have magnets holding this here on this side. So let's go ahead and put those on. I think I'm going to use 3 sets. So we have 1, 2, you need 3 plus magnets. And 3 minus. And we're I'm going to put them together with the paper to the outside. Okay, so there we go. Now then, I'm going to make sure we square this up. So we're going to put our magnets here on this piece over here, this 1.5 inch. So go ahead and pull your paper backing. I'm pulling it off the plus side. It doesn't really matter. And I'm going to put it in the center about 3/4 of an inch down from the top, and then I'll do the other side on the bottom here the same. About 3/4 and in the center. And then this will put this one in the middle. So go ahead and slide each minus magnet off for now, and take some score tape. I'm using the 3/8, and you're just going to put a piece of score tape over each magnet to secure it in place so it doesn't come loose before we get our pattern paper on. Even though it has sticky tape on the back side of it, sometimes it will come loose. Then put the minus ones back. Pull the paper backing off the minus. And I don't know if you can hear the heater running today. It's a very cold day here in Texas. Cold for us, in the lower 30s. So it's not freezing, but we did have snow. So it is cold, kind of damp and cold. So the heater's running. So now fold up your album cover. And you're going to want to make sure, before you let these attach down, that you've got this lined up correctly on the ends, squared up. Then drop them down and let them grab, press on them, open it up, and then put score tape on these magnets as well. Now you could use ribbon if you wanted a tie to close it, but I think with an album cover made this way, that the magnets, even if you do use ribbon, you might want the magnets too, because it will help keep it closed better. Okay, so that's our cover, and we are ready. And I'm going to have mine opening on the right side. So now we're ready to put our pattern paper on the outside. But before we do that, we're going to reinforce this inside here. So I'm going to measure and then come back and show you the cardstock that we're going to add to this section here. So for your inside support pieces over your spine areas, you want to cut 2 out of cardstock that are 8 3/8 by 4.5. And then on one side, you're going to put either a score tape sheet or, like I did, the score tape strips. And make sure you burnish it down after you put them on before you peel the backing off. The reason we use score tape or the score tape sheets is so that it doesn't buckle, because glue can make it buckle. So here on this one, I got my tape over the edge just a little bit, so I'm just going to trim that tape and the backing off the edge here that I have it extended on. I just noticed that. Make sure on both sides. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and peel off the backing here. I'm going to do this one first, the side that has the magnets, and I'm going to speed up the video now and peel all the backing off. Okay, so now we have all the backing off the adhesive. You're going to put this down so that it goes over each fold section here of this spine, which includes part of this closure flap. But you don't want to go over your magnets here. So I am going to put it on, line it up at the bottom, just about 1/16 of an inch off. And And go ahead and, let's see here, make a little more up here. And make sure that I'm getting it on straight. And then I'm going to burnish it. And then we're going to do the same over here. So I'm going to speed up the video now and take these backings off of this side. Okay, so we have this piece ready. So we're going to put this over where these two folds are of this section. We're just going to center it over it. Get them on straight and burnish that down. Now that we have these on, we need to fold. And I'm just going to take the rounded part of my bone folder and I'm going to gently burnish right here where this fold is. On each one, you can kind of lift it up, see where your fold is. Right here. Just burnish back and forth. This is pushing that cardstock of this support piece down into the score, the score tape on the back of it, down into that fold. So you want to get this one too. Just like that. Just kind of lift it up a little bit. Gently burnish with the rounded part of your bone folder so that it comes on up, and then bring it up, gently fold it, and because we have this seam here, there's no cracking. Bring this one up and this, so then we put it together, and there, it's pretty stable now for this. And let's double check. If you made the Valentine box, go ahead and double check and make sure that it's going to fit down in there, and it is. It gives us plenty of room to reach in and lift it out, so that's great. Okay, so now we're ready to pick some pattern papers for our cover and put those on. So for the pattern paper on the outside and inside of the cover, I used 2 sheets of the I Love You, and I'm going to use this side. You can use whichever side you want, but I'm going to use these swirly hearts here. And then I use 2 sheets of the Be Mine bouquet. I'm going to use both the dotted and the jars with the flowers. So for the outside of your cover, you're going to want to cut 2 5 1/8 by 8 3/8. This will be down in the description. Click on Show More so that you can copy, paste, and print that. Then you're going to need two that are 3 inches by 8 3/8, and one that is 1 3/8 wide by 8 3/8. So that's the outside. For the inside, I'm going to use all the same pattern. You can reverse if you want. You need 2 that are 5 1/8 by 8 3/8. Then you're going to need 2 that are 2 7/8 by 8 3/8, and one that's 1 3/4 by 8 3/8. So I'm going to do the outside first, so you can just open this up and lay it flat, so that gives you a nice easy surface to work on. Pull your tape backing off of your magnets here. And also, if you plan on inking, go ahead and ink your papers. I'm going to do that off camera with mine. So I'm going to get those inked and get those ready to go. So I inked my edges with the Prima Color Philosophy Chat Noir Black. So that's what I've done all mine in, and I'm ready to put them all down. So here we have our first section, and I'm going to use art glitter glue. Got a little tear here because I accidentally laid it on the tape of my magnets, but that's okay. It's on the back side. So I'm just going to put glue on this piece and then attach it down and burnish it. So it's about 1/16 of an inch Make sure I'm getting it even on the sides and the top and the bottom. I want the same. So I have very thin margin of the cardstock around them. Now you want to burnish where your magnets are to make sure there's no gap, okay? Like especially on the edges here. So just burnish that so it lays down nice and smooth. So that's the front here edge, and then this wide one here is going to be the same with the flowers in the jars. So put some glue on that. Line that up the same. Get it on straight as I can. And burnish. I like to burnish with my hands. It kind of smooths that out. Gets the glue pressed down and flattened out, and then burnish the rest of the way with my bone folder. Or a spatula if you have one. Okay, so now we want the red dots. So we have one that goes right here in this spine. Now I cut these at 3 because when it's folded up, there's a more gap there. So I'm probably going to fold this up to put those on so that I see the full area. So I'm just going to put my glue on real quick. Let's go ahead and get this on and line it up height wise with these pieces that are on the front and back. Go ahead and like scoot this over a little bit more to where the fold is, where I can see the fold kind of. So that way we have a little more here. Straighten it up like that, and then we'll do the other side. So let me burnish this one real quick. So I'll flip it over. Look at the other spine section here. Like this, so the glue goes on the back side. Now the actual decorating of the cover will not be done until all the pages and everything are done. But I like to go ahead and get my patterned paper on the cover so I don't use it somewhere else, especially if there's a certain one that I want. There's that. So now we're going to flatten this back out, and we're going to put the dots, strip of it here on the closure piece as well. So some more glue. Right here. Okay, and now we're ready to do the inside, which I am going to go ahead and cover each section. This is where the pages will be going on this side. So we are going to cover all of this. So first we have the first piece here. Now I used the back side, and if you wanted to do it different, you can. But I'm going to use this as my directional to make sure that I'm putting this on right. I don't think it really matters, but just in case. So on the glue on the back side. And since I only had the 2 sheets of each pattern, and I'm using 2 for this, if this is a pattern that you really, really love and you want it, you might want to order a couple of extra single sheets of it maybe. So we'll get this on here. Make sure it's not in your fold line here, so you want to make sure that you get it really close to the edge over here on the outer edge. And then we'll go ahead and let's do this section in here. And on this one, you have a fold on each side, so you really need to make sure you don't get the paper over those folds. If you need to trim it down just like a 1/16 of an inch less in the width, you could do that. So I'm hoping that I don't need to do that. So I'm going to line this up. And I'm going to, before I really press it down, I'm going to hold it up and make sure that everything's not in that fold. Okay, so like that, just make sure. And over here, you want to be sure you're not in your fold. And burnish. This is a really pretty paper. So here we're going to put it in the spine section. And again, I did ink all the edges with the black Prima ink. Could have used a gray, but I thought the black was fine with it because it kind of pulls out black that's in some of the others. Double check my folds. Yeah, I'm good. And burnish that down. And then this section here. And the last one is this little inner flap here, and so we do pull the tape backing off the magnets. And then we cover them with this piece. Make sure it covers the magnets and doesn't go over the fold. So we really want to burnish so we don't have any gaps where the magnets are. Clean up any glue that you might have coming out from under it. And here. Okay, so there's the inside, and now it folds up, and there's our album cover. We're ready now to start working on our pages. For our pages of our album, we're going to make 3 page sets. So you're going to need at least 8 sheets of the 12 by 12 cardstock. You might get by with a little less if you use some of the larger pieces from when you made your box or the cover of your album. So I am using the gray artisan cardstock, and for the base I'm going to show you how to score. I'm going to give you the measurements for all these, and then I'm going to show you how to score 1 page set, and then I'll do the others off camera. So you're going to have a total of 3 page sets. So for each one, but I'm going to give you the total of cutting. So you're going to cut for your base page. You need 3 pieces that are 8 by 11 and a half, 8 inches by 11 and a half. And you're going to score all 3 of them at 4.5 and 9 1/4. 9 1/4 right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and fold this up. So I'm working on 1 page set right now, but I have cut 3 of these all the same. So you want to fold this up, make sure I got it scored right. See 2 lines there. So it was 4.5 right here. 4.5. Just pour that in and burnish. And you will see when you fold it up that you have about 1/4 inch spacing from the fold of the flap to the top edge here. And we're going to make an envelope, pointed envelope shape here, and I'll show you how to do that after I do the other pieces. So then we also want, for each page, we need 1 each of these pocket attachments. So I have cut these to 9 inches by 4 3/4. You're going to put your 9 inch into your scoreboard, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch and 8.5. Whoops. And then go ahead and fold and burnish those. This is what you will attach to the back of the base page, and what will create a pocket and an attachment piece to our hinges. Then you're also going to want to cut 6 each of the 6 inch by 4 3/4, 6 inch by 4 3/4. You use 2 on each page, so you're just going to score at 1/2 inch on the 6 inch side. 1/2 inch on your 6 inch side for 2 flaps for each page set. So you did cut a total of 6. Okay, so there's that. So go ahead and fold these, and then we'll be ready to assemble a page set together, and I will show you how to do 1, and I will do 2 off camera. Okay, there we go. Put this aside. So I have put together, from what we cut and scored, 2 complete page sets that are going to go in the album. So we have here the envelope, and I'm going to show you how to cut this flap, and then that opens up to a full section here. And then when you turn the page, we're going to have a flap here and one here. And then once this goes on to our hinge, we will have a pocket in between right here that we can add photo mats, or other letters or whatever you will need to put in there. So I did 2 of these. All 3 will be exactly the same. We will have a magnetic closure here on these flaps. So let me show you. These are our flaps on the back. This is our hinge attachment pocket, and this is our main base page. So I don't have the flap cut yet, and I do that with my big scissors. If you have big scissors, it's going to be much easier, or you can cut it on your trimmer if you prefer to do that. You're going to open this up so that the fold is here, and this 2-inch flap is open out. So this is the inside of it. Take your ruler, place it on the edge here, the cut edge on the right, line that up, and put a tick mark with a pencil at 4. Then you take the ruler, and from the fold line of the 2-inch flap, put a tick mark at 3/8. Okay, do it on the other side as well. Tick mark from the fold onto the 2-inch flap at 3/8. So just make sure got it lined up right. Okay, now take your scissors or your trimmer. You're going to line up from this 3/8 tick mark, and you're going to cut straight across to the 4-inch mark here at the top. And then you're going to cut from here over to the mark, 3/8 mark on the side. So what that gives you is a 1/4 inch space of your flap that covers this 1/4 inch inside here that we allowed for clearance of the flap and the fold out. So just burnish that really well. So that is your flap here on this one. Now turn it over so that your flap is here on the right. So turn it over. Now it's the back side. This is the back side. Your flap is here on your left. And you're going to attach this envelope pocket attachment piece. You got your 2 1/2-inch hinges here on the back, so you want them folded down towards each other. And I'm going to put glue on just one for now. And I'm just going to slightly turn this so that I can line this up. So you line the fold of the pocket attachment piece along the top edge of your page. Go ahead and burnish that and wipe up any excess glue. Make sure they're lined up. Mine's off just a smidge, so I'm going to quickly lift up and reposition it and put a little more glue on here. So you have to pay attention and try to make sure they're even. So mine was off like just a hairline here. Sometimes it's a little hard to see with these darker cardstock colors, but line it up right there. Make sure it's all lined up here. And double check, and yeah, that's much better. So I'm going to burnish it. And then I'm going to turn it and put the glue on this flat piece here. Close it down and line it up. Make sure the edges line up. The fold of the piece goes all the way to the end where the cut edge is of the page, or the bottom edge of the page. Burnish that really well. I'm going to reach in and burnish with my flat bone folder right there. So there's the back. So here's the front with the flap. Here's the back. Now we're ready to put our 2 flaps on, and one goes here at the top and then one at the bottom. So the glue goes on the 1/2-inch hinge flap here, attachment hinge. Fold of this one lines up against the fold of the pocket that we just put on. Make sure they're lining up. Let's burnish it. Open it up, wipe off any glue and burnish. Leave that opened up. Now we'll do the other one the same way. Glue on your 1/2-inch attachment hinge. Too much glue there, but it's going to be okay. So line this up at the fold, along the fold of both. Make sure they go all the way to the end here. Line them up. Okay, burnish. Open it up. Wipe off glue. I had too much there. Fortunately, this will all be covered with pattern paper. So if you get some glue, and if you're using the art glitter glue, it does dry clear. And it has a matte finish. So that's the flap. So that's how we do our page sets. So we have 3 of these, and we're ready to put them inside our book. For our hinge piece, we cut one piece of the cardstock that is 7.5 inches by 8, and we're going to put the 7.5 at the top, and we're going to score it every 3/4 of an inch. So our first score is at 3/4, and I will put this down in the cutting guide. So we cut it, scored at 3/4, 1.5, 2.25, 3, 3 3/4, 4.5, 5 1/4, 6, and 6 3/4. Okay, so what we're creating is a hinge piece for 3 page sets. So we want 3 hinges, and they're going to be 3/4 of an inch tall, and I'm going to have 3/4 of an inch space between them, so we have room for thicker embellishments like flowers if we want to add those in. So we're going to have 2 wings on each side. So we don't glue that. We're going to go ahead and fold everything and score it. Burnish it so we get our fold lines in. So I'm just folding each one of them on the mountainside, just folding it in to itself and burnishing to get those lines kind of started folding up. Okay, a couple of more here. All right, the last one scored. Now then, I'm going to turn it around, and this one we're going to score or fold it back towards the front like that, both sides. Now then, we don't put any score tape or glue on these. I am going to use glue on mine. I'm going to turn it over so these are kind of pointing down, and I'm going to take a pencil or a pen. Let's do a pen so you can see it. So we have this first 3/4 space here, kind of fold it under. We're going to put an X on this one and this one. So the second one and the third one get an X. Then we're going to skip. We'll put an X. The fifth and sixth one we'll skip. We'll put an X on these two, which is your 8th and 9th one, and this one we leave blank. So you see you have 6 X's here on the back side of this hinge piece. So I'm going to take my glue, and where the first X is, I'm going to put glue in that section, and then fold that X into the X beside it. And that's going to glue those two together. Burnish that. Fold this one wing back out of the way. Take your glue and put it in the next space of the next X, and then bring it to the X beside it. Burnish that down to glue those two sections together. Fold back. You see the last 2 X's, glue in the next X space. Fold it into the last X, burnish that, fold back, turn it over. Now pull up the 3 that you glued together. So you have 3 hinges here. You can work them back and forth so that they bend good. And there we have our 3 hinges for our 3-page sets with these wings that are going to go inside our book. So let's get our book cover. We're going to put it in this section here. It's going to fit right in here. Now, I want you to look at it. It probably is going to extend some here. So we're going to need to trim these down just a little bit. I'm going to take my trimmer. I'm going to flatten this down, and so the wings is what we're trimming off. Put it in, make sure it's straight, and I'm just going to trim off about 1/8 of an inch. So we have this sliver here, and then to make it even, I'm going to turn it the other way. And I do this because it's just easier to have you scoring 3/4 of an inch and then checking to see if you need to trim off or not. So we've got those trimmed off. The reason we're trimming it is we don't want it to extend past the fold of our spine section. So now it should fit in nicely. Okay, so we want to get these straight. Now I'm going to use glue, so when you turn it over, you see the 2 center sections and this. Now I'm also going to use, I think, some score tape on. seams, like right here over that seam gap there, and then I will use glue in between the score tape. So I have 3 pieces of 3/8 inch score tape here. Burnish the backings down, and then I'm going to go ahead and peel these up. Take the backing off. Okay, so I'm going to turn this to make sure that I'm getting it even. And with the sticky side up, I'm just looking at my placement. So we want it about, looks like about, ¼ inch on each end. So this is 8. Our hinge is 8 inches. And our cover is 8.5. So yes, 1/4 inch. So I'm going to take a pencil. I'm going to make me a placement line here. 1/4 inch right here. And 1/4 inch right here. Oops. Make sure I can see it. Okay, so that's where that's going to go, the top and the bottom ends. So now I'm going to take this where the sticky side is, and I'm going to take my glue, put glue between the score tape. This is to secure it, because sometimes, depending on where you live, your humidity may make it, the score tape, come loose. So you want to make sure you have some glue in there. Okay. Now we're going to place this down with the wings on it at about the same distance. So I'm going to place this down before I press down and line it up with my line that I marked. Make sure they're about the same here, but straight. And then I'm going to press down between each hinge and these wings. So take your bone folder, burnish in between and the wings. Okay, so there's our hinge piece in, and it's ready for the pages. So your first page, remember you have this pocket section here. Make sure it's not your flaps. This is going to fit right over this hinge, and we want to keep it about 1/16 of an inch from the bottom of the hinge piece, or off the bottom, I should say. So this is going to fit right here, and we may have to do some trimming. I'm just double checking and making sure whether or not it fits or not. So I'm going to do some angle trimming on this hinge. So the next thing I'm going to do is like an angle cut here on the end of each hinge, and this would have been easier if I had done it prior to putting it in the book, but you just put your scissor here and cut down into the point. So you're cutting off a little angle, about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch down to the point of the end of the hinge. And this is so you can get your page on easier. Turn it over, do both ends. Okay, so now let's check our pages and see. And this is going to be the top, the front, so make sure we're doing the right direction. This first page, and let's just light it on and double check. There you go. Just had to do some fiddling with those flaps to make sure that it's going on. And like I said, we're going to stick it on about 1/8 of an inch from the fold of the hinge. So you want a little gap in there so that it will lay down flatter. Okay, so let's put score tape on our hinges to make it a little easier to attach. So on the front and the back. So we're going to put this tape more towards the top, about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom, and 1/16 of an inch from the top. So do it on both sides of the hinge. Okay, after you put your tape down, make sure you take a bone folder and burnish the tape backing so that it's easier to pull off. Okay, so there we are. We're ready to put the pages on. So I wanted to make sure you understood how to cut the ends of your hinge. So this is just a piece of a hinge that I folded up real quick. So if this is your hinge like this, you're going to put, and again it would be easier before you put it in the book. So you put your scissor at the base where the fold is, and you just do an angle cut to cut it in at an angle there on the end. Let me see here if I can show you. See the angle? So I'll cut this piece off like that. Oops, wrong direction. Yeah, cut this one off. So cut wider here at an angle down to the hinge part. Now if it's in the book and you're cutting from the top fold, just place it here about 1/4 of an inch, and you'll cut down to the score line at an angle. So that gives you the angle to make it easier for your page to slip on. To get ready to put our pages in, I have added my score tape. I am using score tape on the hinges because it's a little bit easier to line things up. You can use glue if you want. On this one I'm using score tape and possibly a little bit of glue, I'm not sure, on one side. So you put it on the front and the back of each of the 3 hinges. I'm using 3/8 inch tape because I'm out of the 1/2 inch. So for these 3/4 inch hinges, you could use the 1/2 inch, which would probably be better. Now after I put the tape on, I'm going to burnish the paper backings to make it easier to pull off, and also it helps to bend my hinges going both directions. So you want these to be able to bend good once you get your pages on. I'm going to start from the back side. So you take a page set. Now this is really important here. You want to make sure you're attaching between the main base page here with the flap, envelope flap, and the attachment pocket here, not underneath these 2 flaps. So you need to like pull it out and make sure. Now I've cut these at an angle, already showed you on the video, and I'm going to line this up about 1/8 of an inch. I think that's going to work. I want to double check here. If I put it about 1/8 of an inch from the spine fold line, double checking, make sure I'm not telling you wrong. When we close the book up, it should be fine. Yeah, about 1/8 of an inch. So to start this, lay your hinge back on the front side. We're going to pull off a little bit of the paper backing, and you're just going to bring it over here. Now I'm going to put just a line of glue along the score tape bottom because I'm using the 3/8. You do not have to do this if you don't want to. Sometimes I've had problems with score tape coming loose, and I want to make sure my pages don't come off. So we got this pulled to the side. You've got your flat piece here. You've got your pocket. See how you've got to make sure you're pulling that apart. Put your hand in there. Turn this a little bit so I can see, and I'm just going to attach the front side, not the back yet. I mean, it's going on, but it's not going to be glued down yet. So I've just got to make sure to get this into the right place, lining it up. There we go. About 1/8 of an inch from the bottom of the score line of the hinge. Right there. You don't want it all the way flat down. Now I'm looking to make sure that my page, especially this first one that's going down, is equal distance here and here. Now then, once I have it in there, I'm going to press down here at the top, and I'm going to pull this tape backing off. And I'm going to make sure it stayed lined up. Straight both ways, and burnish that, okay? It's a little more tricky with that glue in there, but I did want that little bit of glue in there on my book. So that's just totally optional for you. I'm just cleaning it up a little bit here. Now we turn it to the front. I'm not going to put glue in back here because I've got it on the front. I'm going to grab my scissors. I'm going to reach in. I'm double checking to make sure I don't have this where it's not supposed to be. Clean up some glue here. Okay. Reach underneath here so you can see your tape backing, and just pull the backing out and then press down and burnish. So the first page is in. I'm going to double check everything. Close my flaps up. Got my page. Close my book up, and it's got plenty of clearance between the pages and the second spine section here. So we're ready to put the second one on. It's going to be the same way. We're going to do it from the front side first. And I'm going to peel off some of this score tape and put it out there so I can see it. I'm just going to take a little bit of glue, not all the way close to the edge, just right along this score tape. I'm going to take my page, and again, make sure, because I have done this before, this is how I know, you put it in the wrong place. So pull that up so you can see your pocket in there. It's solid on both sides. The flaps are free. Turn this so I can see it. I'm going to fit this down over it. Looking in to make sure. Okay, now we line it up. We make sure we're lining it up with the previous page. Right here at the bottom and the top, it's about 1/16 of an inch from the score line of the hinge here. We're going to pull our tape now. It's a little piece of it right there, and then we're going to burnish it down. Burnish, 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 and clean up any glue. If you used any, clean that up. Flip this page to the front. We're going to double check everything's right. I'm going to reach in there with my scissors and grab my tape backing, pull that off, and just let it drop down and burnish it in place. You can even lift this up if you need to and burnish. It's in there good. So there's the second page. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to put the last one in. Same thing. Push your hinge towards the back. We're going to move some of this tape here. We're going to pull the tape backing, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches or so. Is plenty right there. Grab my glue. grab my page, open it up so that I can see the inside here, the pocket part. A hand in there to make sure I'm staying where I need to be, and line this up on the hinge. Now we can put this pocket flap back, and we're going to make sure we're lined up both ends of the page. It should be, and it's about a 1/16 of an inch from the fold of the spine of the hinge. Touch it down here on the left, pull your tape backing off, burnish that down, flip it back under here, making sure my flaps are clear. Under here between it, pull the tape backing down and out. Open these flaps up and burnish to seal that pocket up and attach it to the hinge. And that's all there is to getting your pages in. So there they are. And you're going to close up the book, and they have a good clearance in there, and you've got 3/4 inch space between each one to add flowers or thicker embellishments that you want to add. Okay, so now we're ready to add the magnets. We're going to add the magnets, then we're going to pattern just this in the tutorial, the flaps, the front and the back, on one at least. Then I'm going to finish mine on my own off camera, and you can pattern yours any way you want, and then I'll be back with the finished one to kind of go over it in detail. I'd already shared it some on the front as a walkthrough. So I'm going to go ahead and decide on my papers here. Now the great thing of this is you should have wide enough scraps that you can use some of these for your pattern papers, and these are from the box. So this is going to bring that pattern in that we used on the box onto some of our flaps. So I'm going to plan all mine, and then I'll be back to show you how to do that. Before I forget, I want to make sure and show you how to put your magnets on your flaps. That's what I'm going to use now. If you wanted to, you could use ribbon to tie, or you could use the envelope string or different closure elements that you might want for yours. I'm going to use the magnets on mine, and I have 3 sets. Whoops. You need 3 minuses and 3 pluses. Okay, so for this first one, I'm going to open it up. So I've got my flap here at the top. So on the inside, I'm going to take one of my magnets. I'm going to take the plus, and I'm going to pull the tape backing off because they are sticky. They have some adhesive on them, and I'm going to put this about 3/4 of an inch down from the point. I want to be able to cover my paper and kind of center it right there. Now I'm going to take some score tape, and I'm going to cover this magnet. Make sure it stays secure, even though there's a sticky on there. Then place your -1 on top of that one. Pull the backing off, the minus side, and then close your envelope up or your flap up and press it, and then carefully lift it up, and then put score tape on your magnet. So you will do this on all 3. I'm just going to show you on one for now, and then the next thing I'm going to show you is putting pattern paper made out of scraps, cut out of your scraps from your album cover and from the box if you did the box. And for these outside and inside of just the flap area, I'm going to show you that. Then the rest of it I'm going to put pattern paper on off camera, but then I will show you again at the end more details of what I did, even though I showed you in the beginning of the video the actual walkthrough of the album. So that's how you do your magnets. So go ahead and put all 3 on your flaps. To pattern the envelope page flaps, you want to cover the outside as well as the inside. So I've already done 2 of them, and there's several ways that you can do that. I found for me it works best if I trace on the side, the back side that I don't want to see, that I'm going to glue down. So I'm just lining up the cut. I cut 2 pieces for each page. You cut 2 out of pattern paper that are 2 inches tall by 7 7/8 wide. So pay attention to your direction. So I cut out 6. So you need 2 for each page set. And then I lay this here and kind of line it up on the ends where I want it. And across the top, hold it down, and I open up my flap. And I'm going to take a pen and I'm going to trace along the edge of my closure piece here. Make sure that it shows. So you're tracing on the back side of the one that you're going to glue down. So we have that. Then I take my big scissors and I'm going to cut just inside, cut away that line that I just drew so that you don't see the line anymore. So you're cutting, looks like I'm cutting about 1/16 of an inch or so from the edge of the line. So there's that. So now this is going to glue right here, and then I look at it and make any adjustments, and that one looks good. So I will ink it and then glue it down. So I'm going to go ahead and ink it now and then trace the other one. So I want the red showing here on the front, the red dots. And then this other one's going to be on the inside. So you open up your flap this way, and I want this to be showing. So I'm going to turn it so that I see the red dots here, so that my flowers in the pots will be showing on the inside. So this is my top where I want the point. So you make sure you do that. So again, we're going to line this up about where we want it. Hold it really good. Then open it back. And this time we're tracing on the back side again of the opposite. So now we cut this one out just to the inside of the line. Okay, let's check it. So it's going to be like this. Okay, that works. So we'll ink that, and then we'll glue both of these down. So here we have the red one that goes on the front here. So I'm just going to take my glue . There's the front one. Open it up. Make sure you pull the tape backing off. Apply glue. Go. Make sure you burnish around that magnet on the edges really well, because you don't want it gapping right there on the edge of the page or the flap. Okay, so that one's done. So we have all 3 done. Now I am going to go ahead and cut pattern papers to pattern my pages and decorate my pages. I'm going to wait until that's done to decide if I want to add anything special here and here, which I might add a waterfall or something, or you can do that on your own. but whatever I decide to do, I will add that into the tutorial. So this part, putting the pattern paper on and decorating my pages, is going to be off camera, but I will show you in more detail what I've done. So I'll go ahead and turn off the camera, and I'll be back later in the next clip with some of the details of what I've done. So I finished putting pattern paper on my album and all the elements from the design team package that I received from Country Craft Creations. So for the tutorial part, this is finished. I'm going to go over it with you real quick. Then after I end the tutorial, I am probably going to add some things from my stash, like maybe some roses, just different things like that. Not a whole lot to finish it off. And of course, that's what you saw in the first of the video. So there's only two things that I added in that were not in my design team kit. It's these doilies, but you can order doilies from Country Craft Creations, and I added in some red button string, and you can also order some of that from Country Craft Creations. So what I have done here on the front, I added this 3 ribbons that I got in my design team package. I have the gray, the red, and the black, so you could choose colors you wanted, like pink or red, pecan red, or whatever you liked, different shades of pink. I put it down here on the back, and then I put a cut apart that I matted to gray cardstock, to the artisan cardstock. And of course I used 2 different punches. I used a deco and a stab punch to do my corners. So here on the front, I added the doily, one of the Smitten from the frames and tags, and then Love Y'all from the strings and tags. And this is lifted up a little bit on some chipboard scraps. So you just untie this. Now this is for decorative. It doesn't really, it could hold it shut, but remember we also have the magnets. So I'm just gonna open this up. So this flips open. I left all this plain in here. Here on the inside cover, I have from the frames and tags, Forever and Always. This is from the paper, strip of the border in the paper. We have cut apart tags that are from the frames and tags. I made some photo mats with some scraps and cut apart. So these are all that you can find in your collection to add in. Here on the envelope page, I added a small doily that's from Country Craft Creations. I believe this is a Bow Bunny one. One of the frames. So this is made, it's left open, so you can put a picture in there if you wanted to. Just kind of have to lift it up a little bit. Some stickers that I added in. Of course, this opens up, and I left these plain for pictures. So just pattern paper. You can see what I've done there. And you pull out inside that pocket insert. I'll give the measurements of these in the in the cutting guide. This is a mat out of cardstock, and then this is a booklet. You could do both or just one or the other if you just need one. Depends on how many pictures or cards or whatever you're adding in to your book. So I made these for each of the 3 pages. So this opens up, made the pocket here, add the sticker on top. Here's some more tag I made out of scrap, cut apart, matted it to the cardstock, another cut apart. Sticker here that I did put on cardstock scraps and fussy cut around so that you can put a picture in there if you wanted to, also here at the top. So this opens up. Whoops, I did put that in the wrong spot. It didn't go in my pocket. Okay, there we go. Left these so you can put photos. So this closes up, and then of course these hold it down. So this one kind of slides in underneath this little XOXO, and then that goes like that. So that's page set 1. Page set 2, I made this little pocket out of one of the tags and frames. I made a booklet out of the rest of that border piece, and that just tucks in there. Here's one of the tags from the frames and tags package. Some more stickers here to decorate it up. Of course, I left this again so that you could put pictures. Again, we have the 2 inserts here. They're all done the same out of scraps. And just make sure I'm putting it in all the way in the pocket, not into the page. Well, here we have, holding this all down, we have the sticker here on this matted, more tags, cut aparts, sticker here, here. These are on cardstock so that you can tuck underneath, lift up, left that without any decorating for pictures. So then that closes up. That's page set 2. Page set 3. I left this as a tuck spot here. You can add little Valentines or whatever. Love is in bloom. Some stickers here on the bottom, right here. Made a pocket out of this from the tags and frames, and I put little. I made this one. This was a banner, and I punched a hole and added the string, and then this also tucks in. So it's just a cute place to add some tuck-in elements here at the top and decorate the front of this page. If you don't want that and you want to put a picture there, that would work. So this opens up. Again, here's our booklet and photo mat. It goes in the pocket. Back side, we have more tags I made out of scraps. Cut apart, large cut apart 4x6 one. And then this is made where you can tuck a photo in. And then this opens up. It's kind of hard to see that all on the screen here. So this tucks in. And then here on the inside cover, I have put a belly band, because this is optional if you want to do this. If you have more cardstock that you want to use, we're going to make a waterfall. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So this is a belly band. So you can use it just for a tag like that, or you can make the waterfall. So I'm going to show you how to do that and put it in, and then the tutorial will be complete. So I'm going to take from my cardstock. You do need another sheet of cardstock or 2 for this, so you would add to your total. And we're going to cut one that's 4 by 7.5, one that is 4 by 8, and you score the 8-inch side at a 1/2 inch right here. And that's going to glue onto that after we get our waterfalls done, or we can go ahead and do it now. Let's go ahead and glue that on. This is going to be your waterfall piece that your waterfalls are going to attach to. And this is going to be the insert into that belly band that I just showed you. So line this up at the top so they're nice and straight and even. So like that. So there's your insert piece and your waterfall piece right here on the front. Then you want 6, all the same size, 4-inch by 4.5. These are your waterfalls. You're going to score your 4.5-inch side at a 1/2 inch on all these. So make sure you burnish them really well when you fold the score line. And I'm putting glue on this 1/2 inch section on this attachment flap, just like that. And then where the fold is, where it's attached to the top, we're going to line this up. Make sure it lines up even. And on the sides here, it's nice and straight. Flip it up. Wipe away any excess glue. Burnish it. Take your second one. Put glue on the 1/2 inch side. The fold goes right up against the cut bottom edge of the one that you just put on. So you have a 1/2 inch space right here. And I got way too much glue there on the edge. I'm going to wipe that up and burnish. And we keep doing that to get your waterfalls all on. Now if you wanted to do corners on these, you could. I haven't decided if I want to or not. Maybe that decorative punch would be pretty, that I've been using on some of my photo mats or tags. So this is the third one. Go ahead and line it up the same way. Just want to make sure it is lined up here with this piece that you've got here on the bottom. I'm going to burnish it. I just like to double check them all and burnish. Number 4. Line it up. Burnish. Flip it open. Next, number 5. And line that one up again. And the last one, number 6. And when we place this one down, it's going to leave this one. So when we bring it down, it's going to be bringing it here. It's going to leave a space down here on the bottom. I may go ahead and trim that off, or you could do one more if you wanted to. I think 6 is what I wanted for mine. There should be room for one more if you wanted to cut one more, if you have some extra cardstock. So there's the waterfall. So you have this extra space down here. So yes, we could put one more. So I'm going to go ahead and cut one more, and then we'll get that on there. Okay, so I have cut one more, 4.5 by 4, scored the 4.5 side at a 1/2 inch. Burnished this down. So I just miscounted how many flaps this piece needed. So we're going to put this one down. So I forgot that I hadn't added pattern paper between my pages and the front and the back. So I did that right quick off camera. These, you want 4 of these that are cut 7 7/8 tall by 5/8 wide. And you put one here on the front side, here on the in between these 2 page sets, and then one here on the back. So now I'm going to show you what we've done here. I went ahead and I did add the 7th flap. So we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So you want 7 that are 4 by 4.5. Score the 4.5 at 1/2 inch, and then attach them to this piece. So this is our flap piece. This will go inside just like this. Just slide it in. It's kind of an optional thing. You could take it in and out. So there's your waterfall piece right there. Okay, so when I patterned my pieces here, I also went ahead and put a pattern paper on this front flap of the waterfall. These would be cut 3 7/8 by 3 7/8 because it's a square. Now I'm going to show you how to put a ribbon closure on. And I'm going to kind of wrinkle these up a little bit, just lightly with water. I have 2 pieces. I have 1 piece of seam binding ribbon that I'm going to cut in half. So I'm just kind of, I want it wrinkled up. Okay, like that. So I'm going to cut it in half. So I've started out with about maybe 3.5 yards. Not 3.5 yards, 1.5 yards, sorry. So I'm going to cut this in half right here. And turn this over on this back flap piece. I'm going to put with score tape. I'm going to attach one of the ribbons kind of centered. And we will have to put some paper over this to keep it from snagging. So I'll bring this around. I'm going to put this one on the opposite end. Now it can be just a strip of pattern paper all the way across to cover these up. So I'm going to bring this around, and this is going to tie like this to keep these waterfalls down. So I think I have too much ribbon, but that's okay. I want to tie the ends in a knot, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then cut that off. And this one. Yeah. So that's how you would hold this closed. But we do need to put something on the back here so that we make sure we're not snagging when we slide this in. Let me think here a second before I finish this. Okay, it cannot be on this back one here. It's going to have to go to the other side. So let's just pull that off real quick. Sorry about that. We're going to put it here on the back of this one. So I put it on the wrong side. So let me show you real quick. This is the piece that goes in. This is the last part of the waterfall. So we put it on the back there. So now it still ties, but it's not going to hinder our piece that slides in. So sorry about that. Had to stop and think a minute. Okay, here we go. Now that's tied. And then we have this free. But I still want to put something here to cover this up. So you will put some pattern paper here, and then you will pattern all that you want here. You can do, if you have enough leftover paper where you can pattern each flap solid like this with a 3 7/8 by 3 7/8, or if you just have tiny scraps, you could just put a 1/2 inch or 1 inch pattern paper on the bottom of each flap. Leave the backs blank. So when I cover this up, it is going to go here inside. You can also cover that with cardstock if you don't have enough pattern paper on that back side. So that's the waterfall there on the back, and the album closes up. And there it is. So this concludes the assembly portion of this album of the tutorial. I will probably add in some more maybe here on the front from my stash, like maybe buttons and roses, some more hearts, maybe a felt heart or two, something here on the front. I don't know if I'll add anything more on the inside, but from this point it would be whatever you have in your stash, not what I got from my design team package. I have in my stash. So I want to thank you so much for watching my video. You will see the completely finished decorated album at the front of this tutorial. I want to thank you so much for watching and following along. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you haven't already to my channel, and click the bell after you subscribe so you'll receive a notification of when I do my next video. Also, be sure to check out the online store at countrycraftcreations.com for your crafting supplies. Don't forget your adhesives, your score tape, seam binding ribbon, and your paper collections, and your artisan cardstock for all your creations. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.